the receivers wasn't the problem. Ben Roethlisberger was the problem. How he started that game and how he played throughout that game was the problem. The 38-year-old no longer has it. And maybe the Dak is stacked against him because teams now aren't intimidated by the ability to run, aren't intimidated by the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, aren't intimidated by the deep threats, no matter the weapons on that roster. Ben can't throw the deep ball. Ben can't be accurate in the intermediate throws. And quite frankly, he looked lost, and it looked like the game had passed him by in watching that one. The reason they lost yesterday was solely because of Big Ben.
Okay, so let's have some numbers here to back that up. Big Ben last night, 20 of 38 for 170 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception. He was 1 of 12 on passes thrown 10 or more yards downfield, to your point, including 0 of 7 on such passes in the first half. So there were no passes essentially thrown more than 10 yards last night by Big Ben. I mean, wildly inaccurate would probably be an understatement. Did he look lost? Yes. But do I think this is who he is as a quarterback week in and week out? No. I mean, come on. You're not going to sit here. I know you're sitting here and saying he's done. It's over. I mean, come on. We've seen 3 bad games, 3 offensively bad games. Those weren't all his fault. Last night, yes, Big Ben didn't look right. But this is not who he is typically as a quarterback.
Offense lacks any kind of real explosion. He can't hit that deep ball. And yeah, you're right, Shay. At one point this year, he was getting a little bit of buzz for like an MVP. It was because of how that team was doing, how they were feasting on a weaker schedule. If you go back and look at that 11-0 start, they were able to sneak by some teams, take advantage of some teams that are good now that were struggling then, and quite frankly, beat some bottom feeders. That's how they got to 11-0. And that's why people should have looked at this team and said, okay, they're undefeated at this point. They're not really that dangerous. I look at the remainder of the schedule for the Steelers. Where's the get-right game now? Where is the ability to clinch this thing? Against the Colts, when they look at the Colts this coming week, they're going to see a team that they hoped they were. A veteran quarterback in Phillip Rivers who's getting the job done, a defense that is an elite defense consistently, and a team that can truly compete
and can truly run the ball,
win the Super Bowl and can run the football.
Yeah. They're
going to be looking at a Colts team that was supposed to be the Steelers, and all that's gone. I don't think the Steelers win another game this season or in the postseason. I think you've seen the last win from the Steelers, and it came 3 weeks ago.
Okay, I will just say this, though. Can we just all put this in perspective? Like, the NFL is such a what have you done for me lately, short memory kind of league. Like, it changes drastically, day to day, week to week. You're saying this now, but now if the Steelers turn things around, and let's not rule out a veteran like Ben Roethlisberger or a coach like Mike Tomlin or those receivers that they have, or if James Conner comes back. I mean, there are, and
James Conner comes back. What was James Conner doing when he was healthy?
Jordan, we had him on our fantasy team, so don't do that.
You were mad that we put him on
because he's not always healthy. He's not always active.
When he was out there, he wasn't doing it. Where I will maybe ride with you. This is where I'll maybe ride with you that this thing somehow magically gets flipped. And I'm only riding with you because we are bound by marriage, and I'm always supposed to have your back.
That's right. You talk to him. That's true.
The only way I can see that maybe the Steelers turn this around is if you look at the rigors of the schedule and what COVID has done to this team and the position it's put them in because of scheduling. They have played their 3rd game in 12 days. They're coming off of that. But they had a week prep for this one. And it was against the Bengals. And they looked really flat.
And a 13 quarterback.
But maybe they've hit the wall. Maybe they've hit that wall. Maybe they needed to flush this out, this 3-game stretch where 3 games in 12 days was simply too much for them. They've been shell-shocked. They've gotten that out of the system. This is just a very rear-view thing these last 3 games. And they get back to being truly tested by a Colts team that they really respect. Go out there and get a win that builds their confidence back. Because you know Mike Tomlin is at his best when they are the underdog. They came into this one the heavy favorite. They are not good in that role, and it showed in this game.
Please. They have not been an underdog.
You wanted me to ride with you.
I know, but let's be honest. I mean, a team that was undefeated hasn't been the underdog in a hot minute. Okay, here's the Pittsburgh Steelers' remaining schedule. They obviously lost last night to the Bengals. Now they have the Colts at home, and then they have to go to Cleveland and face the Browns for the last game of the season. A tall task, as you just mentioned. And what's the mindset of the Steelers right now? Well, last night after the game, Cam Hayward said, I'm not just disappointed, I'm actually aggravated. Here's Cam Hayward. Take a listen.
I'm just pissed off. We just lost a damn game, and I think that's the way our team feels. We're not feeling sorry for ourselves, but we gotta get the job done.
Yeah, and you don't have a lot of time to do it.
Hit him
basically.
with the Drake. What would you say in postgame?
I'm upset.
Oh, upset. That's right. Let him know, Shay. Do it one more time.
I'm upset. He's upset. I mean, it's true. And you should be. You looked like junk yesterday.
It's my favorite
like
thing.
Absolute junk last night.
I think Cam Newton, we'll get to him later on in the show. Cam Hayward, I think he took a little bit more on than was needed. He said the defense isn't doing enough for the offense. Cam, I think he got it backwards. That offense ain't doing enough for the defense.
Come on, though. That defense.
They gave him a short field 3 times at the beginning of the game. Ben Roethlisberger lost that game in the first quarter of it. In that first half, it was a done deal. No matter what happened after that, they were playing from too far behind because of their Hall of Fame quarterbacks' inability to put them in the proper position against a bottom feeder. That defense got screwed over by an offense. Not the other way around like Cam Hayward was saying.
The defense didn't look as dominant as it's supposed to. 8 possessions in the first half.
That's fair.
Only 3 first downs.
A lot of short fields is all I'm saying.
So here's my question. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, which quarterback do you trust the most in the playoffs? Be a part of Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin Nation on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed. ESPN Nation is presented by Dr. Pepper. It's official. College football's back, and so is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. Which quarterback do you trust in the playoffs more than Patrick Mahomes? Let us know. From the top of the AFC North to the bottom of the NFL, what should the Jets do if they have same record? Sorry. And because of the way the scheduling goes, the Jags will pick first, and now the Jets will pick second. And Greeny's right. Like, you have nothing now. Like, this is what you were playing. You were losing and everyone was okay with it because you were going to have the number 1 pick in the draft.
It's the worst win in NFL history.
Okay, yeah, fine. I'll take that.
It's the worst win. You're missing out on the most surefire guy coming into this draft that's going to hit since Andrew Luck. And if Andrew Luck stayed healthy, we know what he would have been. Yeah. We saw what he was able to do when healthy on the field. I mean, this is Peyton Manning coming to your franchise. This is one of those kind of picks in Trevor Lawrence.
That is a very
who I think is going to I think should win the Heisman, and I think will go on to win the CFP. And maybe we'll be able to have that conversation at some point over the next few days while we're here filling in for Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. But I do think this is interesting, Shay, because you kind of set the table on what the Jacksonville Jags and New York Jets are now having flop positions. Jags now have that number 1 pick. Well, ideally, if they hold it, go get Trevor Lawrence, the Jets miss out. It's massive. But what if we could kind of tinker with how this thing's set up?
You know I hate the word tinker.
I know you hate the word tinker. I apologize.
The word tinker.
What if we could kind of mess with this thing, rejigger the setup of how it works here? And maybe, and Steve on our production team came up with this idea. I can't take the credit.
It's a brilliant idea.
But it has holes, so we need to talk through it. What if you take the Jags and you take the Jets and you put them in the postseason? Not in the way that you think you put them in the postseason. You have them play fittingly on a Thursday that leads into wild card weekend. Jets, Jags. What are they playing for? Not a chance at the Super Bowl and to further progress in the postseason. But the winner of that game between the Jets and the Jags gets the first pick in the draft.
Love it.
Add some intrigue, give another game.
Yep.
What do you think?
I think it's a brilliant idea. I absolutely think it's a brilliant idea. And then there's people sitting at home like, why would some of these players want to play for the future? Because they're playing for their own future as well. Maybe they're playing for contracts. Maybe they're playing for a specific coaching staff. Maybe they're playing for their own record books, whatever it is. But it creates some serious intrigue between 2 losing franchises. And then you're not going out every single week as a fan of these teams rooting for them to lose.
You want your fans to celebrate a win.
Yes.
I to watch... It wasn't being conflicted. I mean, all of the New York Jets fan base was furious at that win. Players are going to go out there and they want to compete to win. So I don't know if that'll be as much of a problem. You're probably thinking, well, so wait, Sam Darnold's going to go out there for the Jets, play in this game that you've created, Cornets, and understanding that it's to usurp him as the franchise quarterback. Well, how's he going to go out there and play? I don't know. Get creative with it. At the end of the day, it's another game that the fans would consume. Okay, why would the players play, Shay? Scratch. They're going to get paid. It's another game check for them. And like you said, it's an audition for these guys to maybe go elsewhere if their contracts are expiring or for them to re-up there. Ultimately, the NFLPA would probably never go for this, but I think it's a cool idea. I do.
I think it's actually a fantastic idea. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. So the question becomes, this is not going to happen, obviously. Not at least this year. So the Jets have the number 2 pick. What do you do? You're not going to get Trevor Lawrence at this point. Do you go Justin Fields or do you go a different route or do you keep Sam Darnold and you trade away the pick? I mean, what do you do? I am in the camp where I think you can, at this point, do I think Trevor Lawrence would have been a great fit in New York? Yes. Do I think he could have changed the franchise? Yes. It's not going to happen now. So what do I think?
It may not happen. It's not guaranteed.
Okay, you're right. It may not happen now.
You know who the Jags have next?
The Jags have the Browns. The Jets have the Browns.
The Jags have the Bears next.
Thank you. I thought that. Anyways.
And that's a possibility.
You're throwing me off my
Jets.
game.
Sorry.
My point is, I think you can build around Sam Darnold. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it is true. You have a new coordinator.
You want the Jets to stay with Sam Darnold?
Jordan, you don't have a lot of options. And I'm sorry. I think Justin Fields is a great quarterback, but he's turnover prone. He is not. I don't think he is the top prospect like Trevor Lawrence is. I do not.
That's what we're doing here.
And so I think if you're the Jets and you can bring in some help and a capable coaching staff, let's be real here. Look what Ryan Tannehill has become after he left Adam Gase.
Look what Josh Rosen has become.
Josh Rosen, though, is an anomaly. I understand so is Ryan Tannehill. But
Rosen's not an anomaly. That good quarterbacks in college maybe go to a position in the NFL and set up to fail, but then maybe they just aren't good enough. Maybe it just didn't work out for them, or maybe their confidence is shot to a point where it never works for them.
There's been multiple teams with Rosen.
I'll give you this.
Darnold's still on the same team.
I'll give you this. Darnold, his position players in college were better than the ones he's been dealing with in the NFL. And probably how it was set up from a coaching standpoint was probably better in college than it was in the NFL. I get those things. He had Rojo. He had Juju Smith-Schuster. He had better playmakers around him at USC.
And then if you change a coordinator and a coaching staff to make him the best capable quarterback he can be, I'm not saying it's going to fix everything, but it would make him better.